Oh, yeah.
Right, so art. I've got some there behind me. There you go. Art. Okay, that's art. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't know what about art. I'm an artist of a different kind, so we won't go down that route. But well, we might, I suppose. You never know which way the twists and turns of these talks take us in the morning. So, Lee, art. What is it to you? Why do we talk about it? Should we talk about it? And can you do it?
Yeah, so it came from these just a couple of statements that stood out for me from yesterday about our discussion on Nietzsche. Is the it doesn't take much to make us happy, and that so, and then he shared what he makes him happy: bagpipes of all things. I'm with Edward. It definitely was the first sign of madness that he but music and dancing were the things that he named as the things that made him happy. So it just brought to mind, what is it about the arts, and anything could fall under the arts. I mean, I think we traditionally we talk about theater, we talk about poetry, we talk about paintings, drawings, but if you go into any of the exhibitions, if you see these collaborations. William Kentridge, a very well-known South African artist, has combined all kinds of media, from film to drawings to sculpture, and puts them all together in a single program. And so what is it about art that I think is a universal part of our beings? It comes from within us. And I think of these rock paintings back in the day, how do we know the thoughts and of what early people were, what were they like? They needed to tell a story, and that story needed to be expressed. And if I've got a stick and some mud, I'm going to draw something on a rock. So it's whatever your tools, whatever you have at your disposal, I think there's this universal need to express something about who we are. And over the years, over the generations, one idea stimulated the next, has created movements. And I think the reason why it's so relevant now is especially the performing arts that involved people coming together in crowds has been curtailed for probably one of the longest periods in history. Even though I was just reading now, his theatre has closed over years for various reasons. This is one of the longest and most sustained closures of theatre. And there's this fear, will it die? Will we lose something that was so loved and felt so essential to our beings? Is there a new normal where Netflix will replace live theatre? And I'm seen to be so shaking his head, because I'm convinced, because we are human, that we need this. We need people to express it. And my superpower, we talk about superpowers. I have a superpower. I am a fabulous audience member. Really, I have nailed that. And I can tell you why, because I've practiced watching a lot. And I know what it does to lift my spirits, to fill my heart, to make me think, to challenge my perspectives. So that's what art does for me. There we go.
Audience member, I'm practicing. There you go. All right, good. Okay, so Ed, you've got your own artwork hanging there behind you in your office. You better tell us about art.
Yeah, the little picture over behind my head, I painted myself actually, which was quite good. Yeah, I'm with Lee about the performing arts. You know, I don't like films because I think they're too prescriptive. I much prefer theatre. And one of the best performances I ever saw, I took my children to see a performance of Water Babies in a park. And all they had was a raised stage with a sheet behind it as the backdrop. And they had another white sheet to indicate waves, which they shook. And then the only other prop they had was a glove to be a lobster. And I wasn't sure actually there was a lobster in Water Babies when I read it, but never mind. And the power of the acting just transformed people. And of course, everyone had their own interpretation of what they were seeing, which you don't get so much with a film because it's scripted. It tells a story that you have to follow, whereas you can use your imagination in watching, especially theatre like that. And there's a wonderful company near me that produces plays in the wood. And the other day they were doing like, I think it was the Pirates of Penzance, and they made one of the trees into a ship by putting sails in the trees. It was wonderful. But I much prefer nature as my art. And I love trees. And I love poetry. And one of my favorite poems is Trees by Joyce Kilmer. And it goes, I think I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the sweet earth's flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a robin's nest in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. And I thought it was really interesting, the difference between that poem and a quote from Nietzsche, who said, the tree that would grow to heaven must send its roots to hell. And of course, in this poem, against the sweet earth's flowing breast. So completely at odds with Nietzsche's idea of if you need to get to heaven, you've got to have your roots in hell. So that was a great poem, and my really all-time favourite poet. And hopefully I'll get some brownie points back from Ivan, having dissed the music of his ancestors, the bagpipe. My favourite poem is Robert Burns, the Scottish poet. And it's not just because in one of his poems, Tam O'Shanter, he mentions me in the opening lines. It goes, when Chapman's billies leave the street. There's my name in his poem. But my very favorite one of his is his poem to a mouse. And it starts off, wee sleek it cowering timorous beastie. And it's all about how a mouse's nest is disturbed when they harvest the grain. And it's quite a lengthy poem, and it goes on with such brilliant descriptions that you can see the field, you can see the activity. And then he's talking about how is this mouse going to survive the winter, because it can't make a new nest because there's no material left because they've harvested it all. And you can feel the weather. And then he talks about how man has disturbed nature, and he's apologizing for it. And he says, actually, he doesn't mind the fact the mouse takes a little bit of grain because there's plenty for everyone. an incredibly rich poem that every time you read it, it's different because you use your imagination differently. You're in a different place. So I love the whole poetry of Robert Burns, and the fact that he finds inspiration in little things like a mouse's nest. And also he was sitting in church one day and he saw a louse on this woman's bonnet. And he thought it was interesting that the louse didn't realize this was a posh lady. And it doesn't matter whether you're posh or whether you're poor, a louse will come on you. And he comes up with that wonderful phrase, "Oh, with some power the gift he give us to see ourselves as others see us." Fantastic. And then, of course, you know, he wrote a fantastic poem about the most god-awful food there is, the haggis, which is basically some oats soaked in blood and stuff, stuffed into a sheep's stomach. But there's a fantastic poem about the address to the haggis, which is read out throughout the world on Burns suppers, on Burns night, on the 25th of January. And it's done with such great pomp and ceremony. There's a piper pipes the pudding in, which is a bit of a downbeat thing, but the poem's fantastic. And of course, he's the reason why we give women red roses, because in one of his poems, he says, "My love is like a red, red rose." So an incredible poet that could really bring out the extraordinary in the ordinary, but it fires up your imagination. So poetry to me, especially Burns, it is my go-to thing. And I think it gives you tremendous, I don't know, solace that something that is hundreds of years old is still relevant today and still gives people joy today, just like a lot of the plays we like are old. And so, yeah, that's my, and I think it enriches us in ways that technology just cannot do, because it leaves room for us to put our interpretation on it.
Great, thanks. So you mean there might be redemption yet for Trevor? You know, hundreds of years old, there might be some redemption there. But yeah, we better go to Thabiso next. Thabiso, the art.
I have a picture of Van Gogh's artwork rather, on my cell phone, you know, and it is a picture of a skull on the table, you know. I have it as a wallpaper to remind me of my imminent death, you know, and the artwork actually gives me solace and it helps me put things into perspective, you know. It reminds me not to be passive, and it reminds me that my time is actually limited, you know, and I have to do everything that I can while I still have the chance, you know. And the picture actually, you know, it keeps me grounded and it makes me grateful, you know, for everything that I have, and so that I can actually build myself so I can be better every day, you know. The picture, because it is of death, you know, it reminds me to treat people well, you know, to be compassionate and understanding, you know, because we all share this common goal, you know. We are all born into a world that we don't understand and we don't have the rules, you know, and we're doing all that we can. No one knows anything, you know, even the billionaires, the philosophers, the scientists, we all just speculating, you know, we all just confused. So looking at this picture of Van Gogh, you know, it gives me hope, because I know that if I can actually put my mind into something, that I can achieve it, you know. I think that's the great, you know, rule of art. It is to inspire, it is to motivate the individual, you know. The great thing about art is that it can actually capture a moment, you know. I think that reality is actually an illusion, you know, because it can vanish right in front of your eyes, you know, while art is like forever, you know, it is permanent, you know, it has emotions, it has feelings contained within it, you know. Art is a spirit molecule, you know. Art has memories, it has sadness, it has happiness, it has laughter, it has excitement, it has horror, it has wonder, and it has hope, you know. Art is how we like make sense of the world because we need some kind of avenue to actually dramatize our feelings, you know, to actually make sense of the world, you know. Art teaches one how to see, you know. Art is actually culture, art is perspective, art is reality. I think that in terms of life, nothing is more important than art, you know. Love and art is what keeps the world like moving, you know. It is what explains everything. Art gives life a meaning, you know, because without that, life is bland, you know, life is just boring. There is no color, but life provides that. It provides an avenue to create, you know, to just be yourself. I think that when it comes to art, if there was no art, man, I don't know. Life would be very difficult, you know. Life would be very difficult. I think that we need art to actually inspire us, so that so that life can actually be better, you know. I think that's just my contribution on today's topic. Thank you, Ivan.
Great, thanks Thabiso, but now I'm really worried about your picture of death on your desk. Come on now, really, seriously. Oh dear, each to their own, I suppose.
No, it serves to inspire me, you know, because we can't predict anything, you know. And I see that it's not like death as in, you should see the picture of Van Gogh. It's actually very nice. You know, I just see it as an inspiration. Just that. No, not that kind of gloomy, you know, art. It's not gloomy. It's not gloomy. It's actually a very great piece of artwork. You know, it inspires. You know, you have
Okay,
to have
Thabiso,
something
I'm
that is
sold.
bigger
I'm
than you.
sold. Okay, I'm going to put a picture of death on my desk. No, I'm not. Okay, so Jesper, let's get across to you next.
Morning, yeah. I must say, Thabiso, I'm seeing a side of you that I did not expect. I would have never been inspired by a picture of a skull. But I think your word is to say it keeps you grounded and remind you of your fragile life and how much more is there to accomplish. And I think from that perspective, it's good. And I love what you said there with art being a spirit molecule. I've never thought of that like that, and capturing a moment. That's beautiful. So I can see you really becoming a philosopher and thinking deep and wide at a young age. And you know, listening to all of you and Ed elaborating there on poems and Lee supporting him, I am probably then the wet blanket today because I'm not into art that much. I'm not visiting museums when we travel. You know, put me on a beach and watch the sea and have a book and sleep and just relax. Those are my kind of things that make me happy. A good meal and relationships. And I do love music, and I specifically love this process that they use with idols and voice and the whole discovery process of the next winning artist, and you know, seeing the stories and where people come from and how they you know, get encouraged by their musical journey, and then that gives new meaning to that music. And recently on Sunday night they had a reunion of Friends. Now that was a series of just a group of friends, and that series ran for 10 seasons, 10 years. But looking at that, and obviously I love the humor and I love the series of Friends, but I'm getting more and more appreciative of the people who write these stories, who can visualize these scenarios, who can put it in the minimum amount of words, and you still need a good actor to then act it. But I'm really impressed with people who can create it. And there I have appreciation for what Ed has read there, that people can capture a scene in nature, and you smell the weather, and you see the surroundings and stuff like that. Yeah, so if I think of right now what gets me happy on a daily basis, it's probably just like knowing that I'm part of something bigger, and surrounded by people, so relationships. And then for me, it's I getting joy out of the visualization process of possibilities, of what can be created with what we have right in front of us right now, regardless of the fact that it is lockdown and stuff like that. But it requires a lot of other people to help you think these possibilities. Yeah, so not much to add. Thank you for the other people who've added.
Thanks, thanks, Jasper. And I was just going to say, it looks like Trevor's the artful dodger because he disappeared, but he's back. So yeah, all right, let's get across to see him and see if these 100-year-old things have still any intrinsic value left in them. I don't know that they do, but
yeah, well, I don't know if you were on or you folk were on when I was talking about what inspired me as an 11-year-old. That artwork that you can see in the middle of that page, I discovered it in my garage roof 50 years after the event, probably 55 years. How old am I now? Yeah. So it had disappeared into cardboard boxes. Art on stamps blew me away when I was an 11-year-old, and I met with someone who actually helped me collect artwork on stamps, and I was absolutely entranced by all of that artwork. This is in France, French stamps with artwork on them. So themed collections is what I was doing, and then I discovered girls and sport. So bang went to art. So culture is not something that really holds my attention, Ed, but I think, where's this one? You can see art on stamps. What a theme. And I mean, you must go and have a look at that. And I, you know, I've always thought, yeah, I must get back to that. That little cardboard box came out last year when we were all locked down, and I thought I'd get into that and see how it's progressed in the digital realm, but I didn't get a chance. So maybe someone wants to go and see what art on stamps theme has, how it's grown or not grown. But then this discussion tended to go down the route of theatre. Now, some may be surprised, but I have my roots in theatre because I'm a drama queen. And I remember So Fair and Foul a Day I have not seen. I think that was Macbeth, doing drama. In fact, quite a few of my water polo colleagues were in drama at varsity, but they were big boys. These were locks, 6'7", 6'8", with big beards. They were mana, but they were on the stage. And then my daughter happened to do film and media, so she spent a lot of her time in the theaters. And as a result, well, she probably grew up with us. When I came from Durban, we spent a lot of time at least once a week, either at the Playhouse or the Alhambra Theatre. And then when we came up here, we spent our time at, what was it called? Theatre on the Square. And what was the one in town? And also Theatre on the Track. I don't know if you remember that. But, you know, my abiding memory of these things is a continual battle and struggle to get crowds into the environment. And so I put a note here that I think theatre, especially local theatre, has always struggled. And the people who really enjoyed local theatre were the people participating in theatre. So they're the ones that actually keep it going. And then, I mean, the first thing that we did whenever we went overseas was in London, was out to the West End. I remember Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and the best of all time, which I can't remember now, was the rock opera, man. Which one is it? Ed, you got to help me.
Talking
The
about
Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom, yeah.
Very much. And then, so Phantom of the Opera, I think, was absolutely the greatest production I've ever seen. And then when we were in New York, we had to get to Broadway as well. But talking about art, touring around Europe, I mean, we drove 5,000-6,000 miles around Europe, and we stopped at every church and old building to look at the artwork in each of these old churches. It's just amazing what artwork there is in old buildings, old churches around the whole of Europe. So what is it about art, and why did Lee bring this up? Because you probably have family in it, and when you have family in it, you support family, and then it grows on you. And I must also, I remember my two girls being involved in a school production. And that was also, it was a mini production of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Can you believe it? They just didn't have the racy bits in there, but it was a fantastic production of kids, and they were in primary school when they did this, which was quite incredible how they actually did this. So you get a lot of thrill watching your kids on the stage or participating on stage, and also. What now I'm going back, I can remember even at our own high school, we did a production in the swimming pool of Treasure Island. Can you believe that? We built a boat in our swimming pool at our school, and people participated on it in Treasure Island. And I was a pirate, but I didn't have a speaking role. I just flashed the sword all over the place. But I was the best sword flasher in that particular show.
All right. Okay. So I'm obviously the heathen and all of this now. I don't, all these funny things. I don't know. Just talk to Pythagoras. I mean, it's quite simple. It's all mathematics. He designed it all back 600 years BC. He made music out of numbers. So Ed, you should appreciate that, being a recovering accountant. I mean, it's all simple math. Put it together. 1, 2, 3. Paint by numbers. No, just jokes. But yeah, I mean, art is amazing, but I'd like to show you some modern art, all this old stuff. I don't know about old stuff. So have a quick look at this. Can you believe that is a drawing? It's a soft pastel drawing. Wish I could do something like that, and that as well. So that's the kind of art that I really love, is this modern stuff. I think he's a South African artist. Guy by the name of Leon Forshire, does the most amazing soft pastel drawings of wildlife primarily. But when the first time I saw that picture of the leopard, I was convinced it was a photograph. And the fact that it's done with soft pastel, quite astounding. So I love not Van Gogh, I'm sorry, not these other funny guys who bend things and twist them and make strange things. I like realistic art. I like things that I can recognize and I can understand. I'm just a simple boy. These deep philosophizing things and skulls on your desks and all sorts of strange things like that, just blow my mind completely. So give me simple, give me realistic things, and I'm a happy chap. But I must admit, I'm also with Jasper. Put me on a beach or in the bush, and that's all the art I need. I mean, it's just look around. I mean, the art of nature is unbeatable, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's me and art. 1, 2, 3, simple numbers, Pythagoras. I don't know, some triangles or something like that. But it all comes down to the basics. At the end of the day, can you do it? Can't you do it? I'd love to be able to draw like Leon there. I'm sure he spent thousands and thousands of hours developing that craft, but quite astounding work he does. Right, so that's us. Where do you nah, keep your stamps to yourself, Trevor. Stamp out your
Artwork
stamps.
from the Kateri state of Sayun. Now I've got to go back and try and find out what that meant 50 years ago. So I'm going to get back into this sometime.
All right. Okay, good. Okay, so topic for tomorrow, folks. What have we got on the cards for tomorrow? Anyone? No? No topics?
Leave it open. I do want to just say, though, just as a heads up to Edward and Thabiso, and I'll also speak to Jesper, because this is kind of the in crowd, is that we're changing the format of Wisdom's Chats from next week. We'll still continue Monday to Friday, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are going to follow a specific track, using Tuesdays to pick up the Wisdom's programs that are specific to personal development. And Thursdays, we're picking up Wisdom's programs that are specific to business fundamentals. So we'll have a directed program on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we'll follow the same pattern as we have in the past on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays of picking up a topic, either based on the day before or the previous day.
This is
Good.
Will we be allowed to invoke the Trevor protocol during those?
Oh,
Rules.
you know, we've got lots of rules. We've
No
got lots
rules.
of rules. Trevor, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, well, I wanted to make a suggestion that we were almost going down the route of what Nitschke opened up, and it was a discussion. We went down the route of commandments and me talking about 3 things and then 1 thing and then nothing and no rules. What about natural laws? Natural laws that intrigue us.
Yeah, I think that could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Everyone happy with that?
Yep, let's do that. Great.
Natural laws and the laws of nature. Okay.
We'll
Dog
see you
eat dog.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Have a good one, folks. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.